I'm very lucky to have several of the Canon FD series cameras, and I thought I'd just show you a little bit about them. This is the types of the one I have. The earliest one is this one, the FTB, which came out in the late 1970s, about 78. Then this one came out, the AE1, which was a first electronic shutter one and made by computers. And then this one came out, the so-called semi-professional, the A1. We'll have a look through them, and I'll give you some features and show you some lenses on them. The earliest one, the Canon FTB-N, is this one here. It's got a 1.4 50mm standard lens that came with it. I got it very cheap from a camera club member, and it has a sort of Canon quick load system for loading your film. When you load the film, this is a bit tight because I put some new light seals in it. You put the film across, and this little clamps on the film and hopefully stops it from slipping, so that you can then wind it on and you can take your pictures without any trouble. It's all totally manual. There's nothing automatic about this camera. You can choose the shutter speed on the dial here against the little black line. You have an on and off switch so that you can lock the shutter so it doesn't get fired unnecessarily. You have a battery which goes in here, which is now the illegal 1.35 volt mercury battery. But I did find some on sale cheaply some years ago, and I've got one in there. I think I may have one in there still. But you use the battery by switching on here. And then when you look through the viewfinder, you have to line up a little needle by turning the aperture against a little circle in the viewfinder, and that lines up and sets the exposure for you. There's a very sort of good exposure measuring area in the FTB, in which case it measures an area in the centre of the frame, gives you almost a spot metering. If you want to check the battery, you have to set the shutter speed to 1/1000th of a second. You set the ASA rating here to 100, like that. You press the check button here and then look through the viewfinder, and if the battery's good, the needle will go up to a little circle or beyond, and you know that that is good. Now the lens fitting is the old Canon breech lock, in which you turn a ring and pull the lens off like that. That's a breech lock fitting. When you want to fit it back, you put red dot against red dot. With the FTB series, you can lock the mirror up. You can press it here and then press a little lever and the mirror goes up. Here it is, down again. Here it is, up. Not all cameras have that feature. This also doubles as a delayed action. You pull it down, and 10 seconds later the shutter should go. Here it goes, almost there. Here it goes. Now here we have a covered socket for a 3mm coaxial flash, which you can use for your studio flashes, and I find that's quite useful to have one of those. But it also has a hot shoe fitting here, and you can slide a hot shoe flash into there. I've got some other breech lock lenses. Here is a 35mm lens, which I got for £1 from our camera club auction. 35mm 3.5 lens. It's a semi-wide angle, and that fits on. We find a little red dot here, red dot to red dot, and then it's on. These lenses also have an automatic setting, which on this one is a circle, but when you fit it to an older model like the FTB, you mustn't have that set, because that is for most modern cameras such as the A series. I've got another breech lock lens here. This is a very good one, a 200mm f4. I've done some very good pictures with that, and that fits on exactly the same. Here we are. Oh, yeah, I've got it against the A setting because I've been using it with an A series camera. You mustn't have it on there with the FTB. You've got to take it off, otherwise you can jam the lens. Then it goes on quick as a light. That is a quick rundown on the FTB-N series camera. The Canon AE1 was introduced in the early 1980s, and it was made almost fully computerized inside. Very technical inside here, loads of circuit boards, because this one has an electronic shutter as opposed to the FTB-N, which has a mechanical shutter. You have to switch it on here, make certain it's wound on, choose a shutter speed, which goes all the way down to 2 seconds, so we can have it on 2 seconds, then fire it, 1 second, 2 seconds. Yeah, that's about accurate, isn't it? 1 second, 2 seconds. Here we are. I can count 2 seconds quite accurately. 1 second, that's like that. There we are. It's got the standard loading procedure across here, pressure plate. I've had to replace the seals here and along here, because all these foam seals go rotten after a while. I've done all those. Now this camera has the new FD fitting lens as opposed to the old breech lock. You press a button on the side here and then you twist holding the lens, and the lens comes off like that. There's no little moving collar as there is on the FTB-N. Then to put it back, you put a red dot, so a tiny little red dot on the end of Canon, and twist and it goes on. Now this time you can put it on with the A automatic lens here, A position, press a little button to get it into the position here. You can put it on and off if that is set to A. There's no problem, because this one has automatic shutter priority exposure as opposed to the FTB-N, which has nothing automatic. There we are, taking it off. We can put it back on with the A position set here. Now if you have it on the A position, you choose a shutter speed that you want, and the camera will automatically work out the aperture to set according to the brightness of the light and the subject and the sensitivity of the film that you have set in the little window here. So this was set on 400 ASA. So in this light, say a 60th, in this dim light we're probably getting an aperture of around f2 or something like that. I can point it up and you may be able to see the lens stop down to take an aperture. Yes. Well, we'll stick it on. We'll stick it on a slow shutter speed, and then I'll do it manually. So you can see the aperture stop down. We put it on f11. We'll put it on 2 seconds. You may be able to see the aperture stop down. There's a small hole there. That's f11. Now inside you've got the standard mirror box, but you don't have any interchangeable screens on this. But what does go wrong is the foam here goes all rotten on the mirror bumper, and I've had to replace that foam. That has been replaced. If you want to use older accessories, you have to stop down the lens manually by pressing a lever here. It closes down the lens to the aperture you want, and the little red warning dot comes up here. Now you mustn't put a lens on with that warning dot showing, otherwise you can jam the camera. You must make certain that is off. The battery in this instance is a 6 volt, goes in here. There we are. a 6-volt battery. You have a 3mm flash socket here, covered up, little dust cap. They get lost very easily for studio flash. You also have a hot shoe setting here, and this time you've got some dedicated contacts, and you can fit the Canon automatic flashes on it, like the one I have, which is a speed light 11199A. That will fit on there and work with it. You have on the top you've got a button here which is a battery test, and if the battery is good you should get a little light lighting up underneath here. Oh, let me switch it on first. Oh, it didn't light up. Oh well, we'll have to check that. There's two other little buttons here, one of which is a memory for your exposure, and the other one you can get a reading without taking a picture. It will give you a readout of what the exposure is going to be. It will give you a readout of the shutter speed it's going to set when you press it. I'll have to check the battery on that, because the little light should have come up. But if you use a delayed action, you have no clockwork mechanism. You have that should go with the delayed action set here. Ah, there we are. It's flashing. It's flashing there for the delayed action. There's an all automatic with an electronic shutter, as opposed to the earlier one, which is like a clockwork shutter. Now, with the trouble is with these ones, the A series, you're going to have a shutter squeak, and in order to cure that, I've had to take the base plate off here, the 3 screws, and get a little drop of oil down underneath in this position onto some cogs inside to cure the famous shutter squeak. These are contacts for a winder. I have a winder A, and this is where you unscrew to find the winder coupling. This is the film rewind button. You must press that and then rewind your film like that. Mustn't forget to press the button on these cameras, otherwise you can tear your film. This is the Canon A1. Now, I donated this by an old gent whose brother died, and it was in his loft for about 7 years, but luckily when I got it, it was in good mint condition. It had a winder as well in the set, so I've attached the winder. Now, this A1 has different system on the top. You can have various automatic settings. You can change from shutter priority to aperture value priority by switching over a little thingy here, and a little where are we? Oh, here we are. You turn this little thing. Now you choose an aperture here. That is set to f11 at the moment, and then you have your your lens set to A there. You do all your choosing here for your aperture values. You have your lens set to A, choose f11 in there. When the shutter fires, it will give you f11, and the shutter will be the right time for the value of f11 on your lens. If you want to use shutter priority automatic, you move that back and it shows you the shutter speeds. So here we have 250th, for example. Now, when we take a picture, having switched on the camera shutter will go at 250th, and the aperture will automatically match the brightness of the subject and to the ASA values that you set here. That is aperture priority. So you've got 2 there. Now, in the viewfinder, which I can't easily show you, there is a digital readout of the shutter values and the aperture values that it's giving you in red. If you don't want that, you can switch it off here. Switch off the viewfinder, saves a little bit of battery. And this has a grip To get the battery out, it's the same as the AE1. The AE1 position is exactly the same. You've got to unscrew this, and the battery chamber is exactly the same inside. This also takes FD new lenses, and it will also take the older breech lock lenses. Exactly the same as the AE1. There's the fitting. There's a red dot. I'm looking at this foam. I haven't replaced the foam here. This is a 35-year-old camera. That foam is about to go. That will need replacing very shortly. You also have a stock down facility, exactly the same here as you have on the AE1, for older accessories and for something like the extension tubes that you can use. You've got to use stock down metering with that. The other thing with this is also the A series camera has this terrible fault in which it has a squeaky camera, the Canon squeak as it's called, and I've had to open the base, squirt in a little drop of oil, and now it doesn't squeak anymore. It doesn't squeak. So I managed to do that. As this has an automatic electronic shutter, you can change according to the type of subject you're photographing by means of a exposure compensation dial. If you want normal subject, you have it on 1. If you're photographing snow, you put it on 2, or in between 2 and 3, lots of white snow, to give it extra exposure. If you're photographing somebody on a stage and they're spotlit in a dark background, you put it on half times if you're shooting automatic. It's not very easy to shoot and measure this camera with manual exposure. You can set it to manual by taking it off A, and then you set the shutter speed here, but it doesn't give you a proper manual readout. You have to use an external metering. This is where you set your film sensitivity here. You press a little chrome thingy here and turn that until the film sensitivity you want is against that little white line. Now this winder has started to play up a bit. We'll see if we can get the winder to work. It's switched on. No, it's there we are. It's wound on now. It didn't wind on that time. See, it's not winding on every time. There's an intermittent fault with the winder. Now why that's happened, I do not know, because I may have to change the batteries. But that is the A1. It also takes the breech lock lenses. I've got a nice 100mm f2.8 Canon lens here. It would take this one, and I've used that a great deal for portraits and stuff like that. It's a very good lens. 100mm f2.8 lens. Fits on perfectly well. After you loosen that, press the button to take the FD fitting off. Find the little red dot. There we are, red dot. Touch it in there. Make certain it's not on the A. No. There we are. That's the 100mm now fitted onto a more modern A1 camera. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this quick little rundown. As you say, these are very old cameras now, and the trouble is the cost of a CLA is more than what the cameras are worth. But I enjoy playing with them, and I've got some very good results with them. So hope you've enjoyed this quick video, folks. Thanks for watching.